We continue from the previous episode. The crowd gasped in surprise as someone exclaimed, "It's young Master Chang." Another man in a hat added, "He actually came to Dark Kunwa City too?" The Phoenix Lady murmured in a low voice. As expected, the person Brother Gu cares about most is his sister, Sienna. Everyone in the hall quickly bowed in respect. "Greetings, young Master Chang." Sienna was stunned. "Gu Changge?" Gu Chang casually said, "No need to be so formal, everyone." Neo Tian clenched his teeth in fury, thinking to himself, "Old dog Gu. Sooner or later, oh?" And she quietly warned him with a whisper, "Don't act rashly." "I didn't know Changge would come either." She then bowed. "Greetings, young Master Chang." Gu Chang's expression didn't change, as if he hadn't even noticed her, and she's face stiffened slightly in embarrassment, but she kept her composure. She remained in the same awkward bowing posture, unwilling to show anything on her face. Gu Chang reached out and patted his little sister's head. She immediately shouted, "Hey, don't touch my head." Sienna crossed her arms. "What are you doing here?" Gu Chang replied, "If I hadn't come, I'm afraid your belongings would have been tricked away for nothing." Sienna scoffed, hands on her hips. "How is that possible? Would she dare steal from me in front of so many people?" Gu Chang teased, "You just like to brag in front of me." A little flustered now, Sienna snapped, "What's with that look on your face? You think I'm not as smart as you?" Gu Chang smiled faintly. "What do you think? Seems like you're not doing so well out here." And she bowed silently as Gu Chang and his sister continued their conversation. The crowd began to murmur. A dark-haired man said, "Looks like he's about to teach that in clan-era lesson, huh?" A red-haired man nodded. "Well, young Master Chang's reputation for protecting his sister isn't just a rumor." Gu Chang's expression turned cold. "All right then," he said, voice sharp. "Let me see who's bold enough to try and steal from our Sienna." And she's calmly replied, "You worry over nothing, young Master Changge." Still bowing, and she said, "I wouldn't dare forcibly take what belongs to Lady Sienna. I was only concerned she might not recognize the characters on the page, so I thought to translate them for her." She continued, "This page was left behind by one of our clan's ancestors. Outside of the Yin clan, only a few other families can even read the writing. And besides," she added, "if my people hadn't acted just now, that page might have slipped away." Gu Chang stepped forward. "From what you're saying, we should thank you then." And she quickly replied, "I wouldn't dare." Gu Chang looked down at her and said coldly, "It must be exhausting, living a life full of schemes." He raised his hand, releasing a wave of powerful aura. "Why don't I help you get rid of that burden?" Just then, the old man beside Enshi sensed the danger. "Watch out, Lady Enshi," he shouted. In an instant, he appeared in front of her just as Gu Chang's hand came slicing down with tremendous force. Boom! The wall of the gambling house exploded outward. Blood sprayed across the debris. Far above, two figures floated in the air, mid-conversation. The one surrounded by a red aura suddenly paused. "Huh? Is there such a true Taoist-level fluctuation happening in Dark Kunwa City?" The other, cloaked in purple aura, replied, "Which old monsters are fighting now?" The red aura figure said, "Brethren, let's go take a look." Back at the scene, the old man's severed arm landed atop a nearby roof, his hat fluttering down beside it. Gasps echoed through the crowd. The protective formation of the stone gathering square has been breached. Another person exclaimed, "Young Master Chang really is as powerful as the rumors say." And she lay injured on the ground, struggling to get back up. Gu Chang glanced down at her. "Looks like your guard accepted my help. No need to thank me. Just be more careful next time." He then turned coldly. "So, this piece of paper is the treasure?" He looked toward Neo Tian, stretched out his hand, and said, "Are you handing it over yourself, or do I have to kill you first?" Without hesitation, Neo Tian released the immortal golden scripture. The scripture began to flee, glowing and whirling into the air. A bystander shouted, "It's going to escape." But with a flick of his wrist, Gu Chang caught it mid-air with purple chains. "Since you're so disobedient," he said, eyes narrowed, "there's no need for your consciousness to exist anymore." With a slight force, the spiritual consciousness began to crack. Boom! It shattered completely. Sienna stared in shock. Why did you erase its consciousness?" She blinked, frowning. "Isn't that a huge loss?" Gu Chang replied flatly. What's the point of keeping something that won't listen? Sienna rushed forward. All right, give me back my treasure. Gu Changge asked. Can you read the writing on it? She paused. No, I can't. The Phoenix lady looked at Sienna with a complicated gaze. As expected, she murmured. Brother Gu favors Sienna the most. Nearby, a masked figure thought silently. Aren't you also favored by someone? Gu Changge tucked the item into his robe. I'll study it for you first. Sienna clenched her teeth, furious. Gu Changge scoffed. Hey, I'm warning you, don't bare your teeth at me. You're keeping score of what I've done, but I haven't even settled accounts with you yet. Sienna pouted, arms crossed. Well, you better remember to give it back to me. Suddenly, an overwhelming aura surged through the entire square. The crowd gasped. This aura, it's a true Taoist. What? Is it from the clan or someone else? A booming voice echoed through the hall. And what happened? Who did this to you? And she was about to speak, but her uncle cut in sharply. Why are you hesitating? Just then, Gu Changge stepped forward calmly. Signorin, I trust you've been well since the battle at Sky Deer City. The clan's ancestor recognized the voice and widened his eyes. He descended in a flash and turned to Enshi, reprimanding her sternly. What kind of trouble have you gotten into now? How could you provoke young Master Changge to the point of being punished? You're too reckless. Gu Changge smiled lightly. It's not a big deal. She tried to take something that belonged to my sister by force, so I simply taught her a lesson. And she bowed her head. Uncle, please forgive me. I know I was wrong. I've already received the punishment I deserved. The clan ancestor bowed toward Gu Changge. It was just a small misunderstanding. Young Master Changge, please don't take it to heart. Gu Changge then turned to Sienna. Sienna, what do you think Signorin means by this? And she immediately bowed. It was my fault just now. I hope Miss Sienna will be magnanimous and forgive my earlier offense. Gu Changge glanced at her thoughtfully. A woman who can bend and yield, quite cunning. Sienna replied nonchalantly, Forget it. I've got nothing to lose anyway. A man in the crowd leaned close to a woman and whispered, I didn't expect Enshi to swallow her pride like that. As expected of the clan heir. The woman nodded and warned, You saw what happened. Don't ever mess with that little ancestor again. Just then, the shopkeeper stepped forward and asked, Lady Sienna, would you still like to cut this stone? Of course I do, she replied confidently, pointing at Gu Changge. Isn't he the one paying? Gu Changge was left speechless. Sienna blinked innocently. What? Do I look like someone who has spirit stones? Gu Changge sighed. That'll be 5 million spirit stones. Sienna immediately said, Ching said it's worth it. Gu Changge glanced at the bird and thought, so that's how it is. Looks like he's not just any ordinary bird. The shopkeeper brought down the tool, shattering the stone. A crimson light radiated from within, and the crowd stirred in astonishment. An egg. People murmured among themselves, puzzled. The origins of this egg are unclear, but there's no doubt it's connected to the ghost blood lake. A bearded man stroked his chin. It's hard to determine its value. Even if there's a living being inside, its talent is probably mediocre. Another asked, Why do you say that? He replied, The fluctuation it's giving off is far weaker than that of the more fearsome bloodline descendants. Sienna sighed. Ching, looks like this time, you're not going to make it. She added with a smirk. Well, at least it's Gu Changge's spirit stones. Gu Changge leaned over and whispered, Sienna, I'll pay the bill, but you have to promise to lend me this stupid bird for 3 days. Sienna blinked, confused. Huh. Meanwhile, Ching was fuming. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Bye.